And Belle, this all follows on from Bloomberg's reporting earlier this week that Hui Kai-yan's been placed under police control.
Yeah, that's right, Paul. So we had the statement out from Evergrande late yesterday coming through, but essentially, yeah, confirming in a statement that Hui is suspected of illegal crimes. Now, what exactly those crimes are, Evergrande didn't comment on those specifically, but certainly it is another signal to us that the issues around Evergrande are just entering a new phase here, because Hui, he is the most high-profile person, certainly so far, to face police measures, but he's certainly not the first either for the company, because we've heard local media in China, for instance, reporting that Hui's own son has faced police or been taken into custody. And we've also seen, and we're reporting on earlier this week, that the former CEO, CFO, plus some of its staff at its wealth management unit have also faced questioning from officials as well. So Hui, he is suspected of illegal crimes, as I said. Evergrande also confirming that in a statement that means he's now subject to mandatory measures. Mandatory measures, that's also quite a difficult part to decipher as well. But according to procedure law in China, this can take a number of different forms here. So that it could include summons, release on bail and residential surveillance, detention and arrest. What Bloomberg found from sources, or what we were reporting on early this week, is that Hui was first taken into detention early this week, or month rather, and he's under so-called residential surveillance. Now, what residential surveillance means is that essentially Hui would need to be staying in a designated location. It would mean that he wouldn't be able to meet or communicate with others without any sort of approval, and also that he would have needed to have given his passport and his ID cards into police. But essentially, yeah, just wrapping up there. So Hui suspected of illegal crimes, and also he's now subject to mandatory measures. Just the exactly what he is accused of and exactly what sort of shape that detention is looking like, that's what is not quite clear to us at this stage.
Annabelle, let's look a little bit at the company itself. So they've had to scrap creditor meetings. They've also had to revisit their restructuring of offshore debt. How do they move forward?
Yeah, there's certainly a high level of uncertainty and a lot of different issues for Evergrande to be working through. In terms of what is next, well, we're obviously going to be waiting for any sort of updates that we do get to those creditor meetings. We understand that Evergrande is still trying to reach some sort of agreement with what are these Class C creditors in particular that are big holdouts. The stock as well is suspended from trading. That actually kicked in from yesterday. It stopped trading from yesterday. The market reaction, though, had already been, we had seen that on Wednesday, given our scoop that we had earlier this week, down 20%. But essentially, yes, we want any sort of update on the restructuring plans, whether it's been able to meet any sort of compromise, and also the deadline that Evergrande is facing in this too, because you can see there, October 30, that is the Hong Kong court hearing on a winding up petition that essentially could force the company into liquidation. So certainly a lot of question marks over the health of Evergrande, and as I said, really a signal to us now that Hui has been taken away, a signal that it's entering a new and broader phase as well in this crisis.
Are there implications beyond Evergrande for China's debt market?
Well, it plays really into, Paul, the investability of China, and a lot of the guests that we've been speaking to over the course of this week, one of the key questions we've been putting to them is whether we've started to see the bottom forming now for Chinese stocks. This could be something that tells us perhaps there is a further leg lower to go. If you take a look at this chart here, that it's showing the stock flows in and out of China, but you can see that foreign funds have really picked up their selling pressure once again. We've only really seen a handful of days over the course of August where they've seen inflows into mainland stocks. Of course, foreign buyers in the equity space, they do represent just quite a small portion. It's mainly made up of mainland investors. But in the debt space as well, this is another area we can really chart, because we've got China junk heading for a third straight year of double-digit declines. And again, it really is that growing concern that low-rated debt, at least in China, is uninvestable. You can see their high-yield debt in China down 14% so far this year. So, Sherry, really, we, of course, know Evergrande is suspended, and also we're approaching the Golden Week holiday period. So this is, again, where we won't be able to see a lot of market reaction to this, but certainly something we're watching at the reopen for markets there, just what sort of impact there's been. And, of course, as well, we'll have some of those indicators from the Golden Week holiday period in terms of property sales and whether there were any sort of bright spots that emerged out of that as well.